Good morning, virtual villagers. I'm Kate from What Kate Made. Welcome along to my session today. Um, just a quick thing. If you joined me last time, you would have seen my little dog join me because it was pets. But I'm just going to turn the camera around and show you what he's doing today. If I can do it without dropping him. If we go right round and pan right round. Ooh, you're going to be seasick now. He is fast asleep on the couch. How about that? So he's supervising. I'll bring you back around to look at me. Tighten up my tripod, which I've loosened on the table. You're a bit wibbly. There we go. We're back in focus. So that's little Jack, fast asleep on the couch, supervising. Today's session is fabric covered notebooks. Now, I've had a request for this. A lady who follows me on my own Facebook page. I did this workshop as a live workshop here a few weeks ago. And she said, oh, that's such a shame because I live too far away to come. And I can't remember her name because I'm rubbish with names. But if you're watching, hello, this is, what you requested, fabric covered notebooks. I'm just going to see if I can get you up live. I've not been having much luck with this lately. It doesn't let me see the live feed, unfortunately. Sometimes if I go off the page and come back onto it, I can see it. There we go. Gotcha. So if you're out there, say hello. Oh, hi, Irene. Irene's always first. So fabric covered notebooks. Now, I'm a stationery addict. Every time I pass a stationery shop or even just Home Bargains, I buy pens and I buy notebooks and I just love it. But I'm also quite cheap, so I don't like to pay a lot of money for my stationery bits. So I like to cover them. Most of my notebooks are used for writing patterns down and techniques and things I'm going to keep. So covering them is worthwhile if you're going to keep them. If you write a journal every day and it's something that you're going to look back on over the years, it's worth spending some time to make it look really nice. I've got a few examples to show you. This one was my very first one I made. It was as part of a session with some friends. We all made one. I'm trying to think which side of the camera, so I'm not covering my own face up. It's got a little bit of embroidery. It's got, these are just crochet doilies that you pick up. You can pick them up all over the place in second-hand shops and vintage stores and things like that. A little bit of nice flowery fabric, a bit of hessian. Another technique there, can you see? I've fastened the string. This is just jute twine on with couching, which is an embroidery method. It's got these little hearts. They're like brads. They split pins you get to hold papers together, where you push it through and then you fold the legs out. That's what these are, the little heart-shaped ones. So that it's fastened with a bit of string and just tied. There are various different ways of fastening it. And this is my, you can't read my writing. These are all crochet patterns of things I make and things that I don't want to forget. So that was my first one. That's full now. And I think I filled another one as well. This one is a different method. This is I think that one was a notebook with a spine. This one is a spiral bound notebook. Quite often with the spiral binding ones, I don't cover the spiral because it can be a bit awkward to turn the pages then. But I'll show you the other method with the one I'm going to demonstrate today. So this has got it's covered with fabric. It's got a nice bit of embellishment with a bit of, what do they call this? Broderie anglais, isn't it? Yeah, I think so. Now the flowers on it, I'm trying to find, there we go. So the flowers, there's two the same shape, but one bigger than the other. So these are done with Bonder Web, which is a double-sided iron-on glue. So you basically can iron it onto the back of your fabric. There's a glue side you iron on, then there's paper on the other side. You can draw your shape out, cut it out, peel the paper off, and then iron it again onto whatever you want it on permanently, and it sticks and it doesn't fray. It's really good. I love Bondweb. I use it a lot. So there's the pale blue one, and then there's the patterned blue one, and this is in the middle. This is just a button. Now, one thing I will say is important is sew all of this on before you stick your fabric to your book. I've done it quite a few times the other way and really fiddled and fiddled to get buttons on. Now this one is my diary for Village Hall. It's my running order for today's. So that's that one. So that's what I keep that one for. There's another couple here that are a matching set. If you were giving somebody maybe a daily planner and an address book as a present, you could cover them to match. This one is another mistake that I keep so that I don't do it again. See, I'm not perfect. So this is an address book, but when you open it, which you would naturally open it that way, it's upside down. I stuck everything on the back instead of the front. So I keep that to remind myself to always check that my book is going the right way around when I stick it on. Both of these, again, have got spines in them. So I've covered the spine. So those two as well. What I'm going to demonstrate today, because I love it myself, is this one. This is made with a pair of jeans. It's I think it's quite a sort of teenagery thing. If, at this time of year, the people are, revising and doing exams, this makes a great journal. Now this, I've left the spiral binding exposed, but I've made use of features on the fabric, so it had this nice sort of where the seam's been, this sort of like ruffled bit, so I thought I'll use that. This one has a button on the back and a button on the front with a bit of elastic going between them. It's got the jeans pocket, and I have divided it down here with a little bit of embroidery and put the scissors in one half and the pen in the other. This is just a again, it's in use, this is my workshop notebook. So in here I've got things like recipes for bath and spa stuff. I've got running orders again for different things. That one's about knitting and making dog sweaters. There's all sorts of things in them, but I do like to keep them on my shelf, and they look nice. So this is the one we're going to do today. What you're going to need is scissors, obviously. So I've got my dressmaking scissors, which are really sharp. They're good for cutting fabric. I've got a pair of pinking shears. They give an edge where quite often it won't fray, and a little pair of embroidery scissors that do all the little nippy things. I've also got my gel marker pen that it's erasable, so that can mark the fabric. Now glue, there's several things you can use with glue. Double-sided tape is quite good with a light fabric, so for cotton, for the inside of the page, so where you fold it over and miter it, it's quite good to put it in there. And then if you want to put like a cover over that, so a light and a different fabric. So double-sided tape, that's the widest one I've got. You can get one wider than that. It needs to be quite sturdy. That's good because it will stick to other fabrics as well. The best one for backing your notebooks is PVA glue, because you can stretch your fabric on it and you can move your fabric and get it perfect. The only problem with that is, particularly for today, is that it doesn't, you have to leave it to dry. So I don't have time. So I'm going to use my trusty little glue gun. This I'm going to remember to switch it on so that when I want to use it, it's ready. Which, that one. Right. So I'll let that warm up. I've got this is narrow, very narrow elastic. That's what I'll use for my binding to fasten it shut. You can just use an elastic hair tie. It's great because you don't have to knot it. It's ready. You just stick it on. I've got one or two fabrics. They're pretty important. So the fabrics I'm using today are obviously the denim. So this is just off the legs of jeans. This is off the bottom half, and I quite like the the hem side. It's got a nice faded edge, so I'm going to make a feature of that on my book cover. I've got my pocket, which is off a different pair of jeans. I've just roughly cut it out, and I'm going to trim it to fit and do the embroidery on it. And then I got this. This is the shirt. Notice that all my fabrics are scavenged. And I thought that was a nice contrast with the denim to like do the lining of the book and maybe put a few little embellishments on it. When I was talking about glue before, I forgot to mention there's, as well as the Bonder web, you can get interfacing that you iron on. This also helps stop fabrics from fraying, but it only has glue on one side. So you stick that to your fabric and then cut out your shape, and it shouldn't fray, but you can then have to sew it onto something else. What I might do is I may do a little, I've got a little heart template here, that's my smallest one, and I might do a little fabric heart and stick it on my pocket, but I haven't quite decided yet. I've got various threads. I've got embroidery threads and sewing threads. Buttons, so because it's jeans, I'm going to go with a jeans button. This is actually a button. It's not one of the popper ones that you get on your jeans, because once they're in, you can't get them off again. So I thought I'll get a button that looks like a jeans button. So I've got that. What else have I got? I think that's it. I think without much ado, we'll get going. Oh yeah, notebook. So this is one I've picked up probably at one of the cheap supermarkets. The label didn't come off properly, but that doesn't matter because we're going to cover it in fabric. It's a spiral bound and it's just a lined ruled notebook. So that's ideal for a journal that you're going to write in every day. If you're going to be using your fabric notebook, your notebook as like a memory board sort of thing, sticking swatches and things in it, I would go for something with a heavier paper. I also have, oh, just touched myself with the glue. I also have a sketchbook that I use for the art classes I go to, and that's got quite a heavyweight paper in it, like watercolor paper. So that's quite a heavy weight. So that's good for sticking samples on, and you know, it's not going to tear the paper. Okay, well, let me turn the camera down. Oh, I've also got my iron, and I bought this. This is a reflective heat board. So I've only just got this. It's to stop me burning the tablecloth, basically. Now, let me think. Right, I'm going to turn the camera down, and we will, without further ado, get on. Can you see everything? I'll just make sure you can see me. I'll say hi to Christine and hi to Carol and Rachel. So it's nice. We've got a few watching today. Right, I think I need to be a little bit further down. That's better. Okay, so you can see virtually everything. Right, the first thing we're going to do is measure our fabric that we're using to cover the whole thing, which is this denim. It's out of an old pair of jeans. It has been taken up by me, the hems, because I've got short legs, so it's a little bit frayed there, but we're not using that side. So the first thing to do, most importantly, is measure your fabric against your book to make sure you've got enough so that it will fold over. Now I want to use this hem as feature, and I'm only doing one side of my notebook. So I'm going to place the notebook on the edge, so the spiral bind, I'll turn it around so you can see that. So the spiral binding is just covered by that edge, so that edge becomes part of my feature, if you like. And then I'm going to just shift it slightly so that I've got at least 1 centimetre of fabric all the way around, because that's going to be my turnover. scissors. I'll go for my big scissors. At this point, what you can do, if you've got one, is mark your fabric with the gel pen. This one's not really dark enough. I'm just going to draw around the book cover. I'll open it up so that I try not to move it too much. So I've got a rough idea. Now, this is stretchy jeans fabric, and the nice thing about a bit of lycra in your fabric, apart from the fact that it makes your jeans really comfy, it doesn't fray. Now, if you want denim that's going to fray, if you're making like denim cut-off shorts, then that's a pain. But when you're doing this, it's fine. So I'm going to just run the scissors. I'm going to cut here. Sorry, you're going off camera. I'm going to cut here where I've drawn around my book. I'm going to cut as close as I can to this seam to get that extra bit of fabric to now remember, this is going to be our, oops, the other bit's falling off this way. This is, oh, sorry, I'm just going to turn you a little bit more, that's better. This seam, the, what do you call it, hem, is going to be on our slightly covering, like that, the spiral binding, but leaving the spiral binding free to move. So we're going to overlap under the book cover the rest of this, but before, don't do that now, because you need to be able to sew things on. This is what I've always doing, is I'm so impatient to get on with sticking everything down, I forget that there's a process. So that's my front cover. You can see my lines on it. I will do the same with the back cover later on, because you one side is the same as the other, more or less. I'm going to just put that to one side for now while I make my pockets. So I've cut the pocket off the jeans so that it's got about, you know, a good centimetre roundabout. Just roughly cut it out so then I can tidy it up now. So I'm going to cut round. I'm just trying to decide whether I should use the pinking shears. No, I think I'll just cut round it. So you're cutting under that little edge, so that your cutting line is actually disappears. I'll lift it up in a minute and show you what I mean. You can see the pocket has this kind of edge, and what we were trying to do is cut it so that it's really close. In fact, probably now I've turned it over, you'd be better cutting it on the pocket, the inside, wrong side, because then you can get really close to that line of stitching. No, that's not going to work. You just want to so that your cut line disappears underneath the edge of your pocket. Don't throw away any of these little scraps of fabric, because you might use them later to embellish things. All right, back up there. I'm running out of space now. We were just having a little discussion before we came on air about how messy we can be. It's called creativeness. There. So I'll keep those a little bit of fabric to one side. So that's my pocket cut out. It's got the open bit. So on our original, we had it divided, so we could put a pen in one half and scissors in the other. So I'm going to do that, but I sewed mine on the machine, but I'm going to do it by hand because I know not everybody has a machine. And I'm going to go really bold, and I'm going to use a white embroidery thread and big stitches. So this is embroidery floss. It's got 6 strands. Normally you split it, but I'm going to use it as it is. So I've got my big eyed needle, good strong needle to go through denim. You might want to draw a line on where you want it to go, but I'm just going to go with it freehand. I'm going to put a knot in it. Hang on, I'm going to turn you a little bit more. I don't want you to miss any of this. There we go, that's better. So I put a knot in my fabric, in my thread, and I'm going to go inside the pocket and come out at the back. So your knot and everything is hidden inside. And then I'm going to do a running stitch about 1 inch in all the way down to just divide that pocket. Now, as well as a running stitch, you could, if you did two lines of running stitch, I'm going to turn that around so you can see what I'm doing. When I say running stitch, I just mean a basic line of stitching. It doesn't have to be firm because it's just enough to divide, and we want it to look fairly rustic, so I'm not making a big effort to be super neat. I've just had an idea while I was thinking, and I might show you a little technique that goes really well with running stitch. It always happens me. I make a plan, I write it down, and then I just don't look at the plan. Which is, you know, it clears it up in my head. When we did this as a live workshop here, because we have more time, we did a little bit more embroidery and various other techniques, but I don't really have the time to show you the complicated sort of embroidery techniques that beading and things like that take a lot of time. But you can use any skills you have, you can use. Now I'm going to run another line of running stitch, and I'm going to try and get it so that it runs the lines run, I'll show you in a second, opposite to what I've already done, if that makes sense. So give me a minute, it'll make more sense to show you than try and tell you. And what I'm going to do, look, they're all going a bit higgledy-piggledy, but what I want to do is show you a little weaving technique. Sometimes you have to let your needle drop because it gets twisted. This is taking me back. This is a kind of embroidery that I learned as a child at school. I don't think they do embroidery anymore. I don't know. But we would have the Ada with a huge big weave on it, and you would have a big darning needle and wool, and you would, to show my age so much now. So I'm putting the last one in. So if you can see, we've got like tram lights. They're opposite. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up at the top here. Oops, the needle's come unthreaded. Bear with me a second. It's quite hard to thread. So, and I'm going to weave. Can you see? There. I'm going to weave through that one. So I'm just going to take my needle under the length of the running stitch, and then I'm going to do it like this, and I'm going to go through opposite ones and then back through the other one and sort of create a woven pattern almost. So your top thread isn't going through the fabric, it's just being woven through the stitches you put in earlier. Hoping I've got enough thread on because I didn't plan to do this when I threaded up my needle. I can always go through it and add another length. I might just let that untwist a bit. There we go. Might have enough. It's just for decoration. It doesn't add any any sort of like extra stability, or and then once you've reached the bottom stitch, just go right through to the back. Okay, so you can see that's quite nice. It's come out quite nice, and it suits the denim because it's quite rough and rustic. At the back now, I'm just gonna fasten this off. Now I'm using this jeans pocket. If you were just using a piece of fabric and you were overlaying it with other bits of fabric, you wouldn't you could assemble it all on your cover. I'm just going to go back to this piece of fabric. If you this is my cover. If you weren't able to draw the lines on, you can use pins. Now, because I used, when I did the last session, I did a very dark fabric and I couldn't draw on it, so I put pins in to outline the area that is going to be on the front of the book cover. Because what you don't want to do is sew all your embellishments on and find out that they're over the edge, if you see what I mean. So I did pins like that, and I outlined the area I was going to use so that I could then line up my pocket or whatever embellishment I was putting on it with what's underneath, so it didn't go over the edges, because you want it to be on your book and not under the cover, you know, folded under. So that's the basis of the pocket. So that's going to be my little pocket for my pen, my larger pocket for my scissors. Now, I mentioned before about putting a little heart shape on here, which I think I am going to do. So I'm just going to pop that to one side. Now I've got my iron on, and I've got my contrasting fabric that I'm going to use for lining the book. So I just need a little bit of this fabric. So I'm just going to cut off a bit at the top. What I'll do is I'll even up that line. So that's got a straight edge for when I come to line the book. And I'll use this little scrap of fabric for my where have I put my bundle web? I cut a bit off ready. There it is. So decide which side you want. I actually quite like the other side because it's darker. It's a darker fabric on the other side. So that's going to be my right side. So I'm going to iron my bonder web onto the wrong side. Now, paper scissors. I have scissors for everything. I have glue scissors, and I have paper scissors, and I have fabric scissors, because I don't like to mix them up. But oh, there's my glue scissors. These are my paper glue scissors. I'm going to cut it off at this end actually, a piece of bonder web. Now, this is the double-sided glue. It's got glue on that side. I don't know whether you can see. It's like a shiny matrix, and on the other side it's just paper. This is made for a pliquing sort of thing, and the way I use it is I draw around my template first, because you don't really want to get glue all over fabric that you're not going to use, that you're then going to cut off. And then, so I've drawn my heart on, and I'm going to cut that heart out now. I've used my erasable gel pen, so the heat will just make the pen disappear. Not that you'll see it anyway. So we decided that was our right side, and that, so we iron. Where's it gone? The little heart I just cut out has flopped away somewhere, and I can't see it now. I'm going to have to cut another one. Oh, there it is. What we like. You iron the glue side of your little heart onto the wrong side of your fabric. That's right, yeah. So that when we cut it out and peel the backing off, it'll be on, you know, the right side won't have glue on it, if that makes sense. So I'm going to put this on my heat mat, because I don't like to waste fabric. I'm going to tuck it up in that corner, so I'm not using the middle, cutting out of the middle, and I'm just going to press it. Put the iron on it, keep pressing This is a really nice little craft iron. It's got corners, so you can get right up to the edges with these things. And that is now firmly stuck. So we cut out again around the heart. I'm thinking ahead now and thinking I might put the button in the middle of the heart. I don't know. No, I won't, because then you won't see the heart very well. You could cut this out with pinking shears. The Bonder web will stop it fraying. If you weren't worried about the fraying, you could just not use the Bonder web and cut it, just sew it on with embroidery thread like we did on the pocket. So where did I put my pocket back? Get my pocket back. I'm going to put the little heart up there. So now I peel off the paper backing. Try and peel off the paper backing. It usually works quite easily, and sometimes if you get a pin under it, you can get it. Right. My nails aren't very long at the moment. It shows it's well stuck on. Let me try a pin under it. Because what we don't want to do is peel the glue off again with the paper, which sometimes happens if you haven't bonded it well. It's not letting me do it. This is where we should have done. Here's one I did earlier. So now I'm getting under the paper. It's starting to peel away. Let me just get my nails under it. I've got the wrong glasses on as well. Always have the wrong glasses. Nope. Deep breath. There we go. It's coming away now. The nails look pretty, but they're pretty useless at the moment because they're not very long. Just need to just separate that out. There we go. There we go. And as you peel it carefully off the backing, the glue stays on the fabric and not on the backing. So you could have cut 2 or 3 different colours out and layer them up if you wanted something a little bit fancy. I'm just going to go with, I might put a little bit of embroidery around it. So glue side down, fabric side up, and just press it with your iron again. And I'll give the whole thing a good press. And then we've got that. Right. So that is firmly bonded on now. You could then go around it with a little bit of your embroidery thread. I don't think we've really got time to do that. So we'll crack on with attaching this all to our book. Going back to my cover, I'm going to put a few more pins in on the wrong side where I've drawn, I should say, because it won't show on the dark side of the so that's my corner. So the pins are now marking out the area, the lines I drew of my book, so that on the other side I can see. So I know this is one edge and that is now the other edge. So that's my working space. You can see the pins in it now. So my pocket, I want to position and I want to put it slightly at an angle. This is the outside edge of my book, about there. Can you see that? I'm quite pleased with that placement. Now, normally I would sew this on with a sewing machine, but as we're a little bit short of time, I'm going to do it with glue. Oh, my glue's melted. Ugh. It's because I wasn't watching what I was doing. And never mind, I do have a spare. So what I'm going to do is glue the pocket right around that seam edge. And then across the top, because we don't want to make, it's not, the pocket itself is is going to be the pocket, not the backing. So I'm going to go back now to my, and I'm going to place that where I had it before, within the pins, slightly angled. Press that firmly, and that's the pocket on. The last thing to go on is the button. Now this is my jeans button, so I've got some dark blue sewing thread. It's not embroidery thread, it's just sewing thread with a knot in it, and I'm going to put my button midway between my marks, so about there. I'm going to try and avoid putting it through 16 layers of fabric as well, because denim fabric's quite stiff. Actually, after having said to you, don't put it on upside down, I've put it on upside down. Doesn't matter, this is going to be my edge now, not my binding edge, my other edge. So I'm going to, sorry, can you see what I'm doing? Sew the button on there. No, that's wrong. Need to come back up again. So the button is for your fastening. You don't have to put a fastening on, but I like to just be able to keep it closed. So go through your button quite a few times, because you want it on very firmly. It's going to be moved quite a bit, so we want it nice and firm. Now with the denim, when it comes to sticking it on onto your book cover, you can use hot glue. Because the denim is quite a tough fabric, hot glue tends to go a little bit bumpy underneath when it dries, and because the denim is quite thick fabric, it won't show through. But ideally you want to use PVA and let it dry overnight. So back to my book now, because I've done what I told you not to, and put mine upside down, I'm going to have to rethink it. It's never a disaster. And what I'm going to have to rethink is the fact that this is going to be my edge now, and I'm going to not need this bit, and I'm going to just have a fold over on two. So let me think. The best way to do this is to open it up like a book. My edge is there. Put that on my edge. Okay. And which is the best way to show you what I'm going to do there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue that edge of the book, top edge, against the edge where it's going to sit, and I'm going to put that on first and then stretch it from that. That makes sense. So I'm going to glue right along this edge. If you're using PVA, you won't have to do this. You can just cover the whole book with PVA and then put your fabric over it, and then you can move it around, because PVA is quite mobile. So I'm pulling my denim up so that it comes right to the edge, covers the book. Might just need a little bit more glue under that edge. Dries quite quickly sometimes, the glue, so you have to be quick. If I'm trying to demonstrate and talk, I do have to be quite quick. Now, what I'm going to do now is trim this to fit. I'll turn the book over again, open the book up, so we can see on the inside. So what we want to do is have a little turn over there and a little turn over there. So this bit has now become redundant. So right where the spine is, I'm going to cut a little V shape. Actually, they're a bit big. Let's use the little ones. And that is going to let me know where my spine is, and it's also going to give me a little bit of a mitered edge when I fold it over. There we go. Same at the other end. I'm going to cut my V. I'll take my pin out, then I don't cut my pin. Cut my V in where the spine is. So you can see that I've cut that V where the spine is. So when I fold that piece over, it fits perfectly and it doesn't impede the spiral binding. So again, I'm going to glue it. You can use double tape, sided tape, or glue on the inside. If you were using PVA, this would be at the point you would do this after the main glue's dried. And at the other end, you can also see that I've got, no, you can't. Oh, you can. I've got this nice little mitered corner. Put your glue as close to the edge of the book cover as you can, and then you can stretch it so that it's a nice neat fit on the front. I'm only going to do the front cover today because the back cover is basically the same. When you're doing the back cover, the only difference is you will glue your elastic in if you're using elastic for the lid. Now, I'm going to take out these pins, which I probably should have done before I glued it on. A number of times I've sewn pins inside things. You wouldn't believe. I have got a pin in there that I can't get out. You can sometimes wiggle them out. Bear with me. I'll get it later. So this edge that I originally thought I was going to have the other way around, I'm going to cut that with the pinking shears and give it a nice zigzaggy edge. So I'm going to just go up from where I cut my little V and up to my pocket, and then I'll do it down from the other side to meet the bit where the pocket is. I keep going out of shot. I will apologise for that. I'm really sorry. Right. So now I've got this nice zigzaggy edge. Show you that a bit closer. Down there. And I'm going to glue under there now. Again, don't put the glue on the spiral binding. You want to be leaving that free. Okay. So that's the front of my book done. Quite nice. I haven't really got time to show you the back, but the back will be basically the same. You can also, if you want to, cover the inside with your contrasting fabric. So you just cut out a rectangle big enough to fit and cover these edges. You can either hem it on the machine or use interfacing or Bonder web, one of those, just to give it a nice, just to cover that bit up. Sometimes what I do is I just glue the first page over it, and that covers it up. That'll be a lot quicker. So you're binding, so that's your book open, and it'll open quite easily. So that's the front of the book. So what we're going to do is pop our pen in that section. Actually, that's it, in the pocket. I've got these nice embroidery scissors. I did some sewing stations last time in teapots. So I thought what would be nice if this is going to be a design notebook for your crafts is to put the little items you might need. So your scissors, your tape measure, and a couple of these binding clips. They're quite handy. And I've also got this nice little fancy, what do you call it, needle threader. I need them all the time. I'm just going to take it out of its little plastic envelope, and it is stuck onto the card, and I'm just going to pop that just behind. We'll do it the other way, just behind the little pair of scissors. So that's your sewing journal. It's got everything you need. Little pockets for everything. It's quite attractive. You could embroider around your heart. There's all sorts of extra things you can do. Very quickly, because I'm really running out of time. The one that I started when I was doing my workshop here, which I've never got finished yet because I've been so busy moving on to the next thing, but it's much fancier. So it really demonstrates what you can do. Put all those bits back. So this, I got a fabric pack with all sorts of fibres and buttons and beads and everything to match. So that's what I decided to. I'd never used it for anything and had it for ages. So you can see I've hand sewn on some patches. I've done some couching with this lovely fluffy wool. Same here. Put a nice button on. I've started to do some beading with matching beads. I'll hold it a bit closer. I know which way to go. There we go. So it's quite fancy. You can see I've still got my pins round, which are the outline of my notebook. So that is, as a front, that is virtually finished. Now this is a bigger piece, and I am going to where's another notebook? This is gonna be stretched all round. So when I fasten it onto it's going to be all around my spiral binding like that. So it will then cover the binding. If you're doing this, because I will use PVA glue on this, just make sure that you open the book up when you're sticking it down like that, but then before you finish sticking, close it again. What you want is enough spare fabric at the spine so that your book will close, because if you pull it too tight, it won't close. So that is almost finished. I will probably get around to finishing it soon, and then when I do, I'll pop you a picture on. I hope you've enjoyed this. It's been a little bit chaotic. There was a lot of things to show you today. I hope you have a go, and if you do have a go, let me send me some pictures of what you've made. Send them through Messenger, and I can save them and pop them up on here. I have seen your messages. I'll reply while I have my lunch. I'm up again, I think, in a fortnight's time. Not sure what it is. I'll post something for it. So if you want to take a look at my Facebook page, What Kate Made, Kate's Design and Craft, you can see the other things that I do. Ask me questions, anything. You know, I'm always logged in and always happy to help. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your day. Looks like it's going to be a lovely week, and enjoy the sunshine.